I had myself convinced that God put her in my path and that I defied his plan, I defied his will. And I came to Recharge that Wednesday, kind of reluctantly. And I had to have someone remind me, Miss Peyton, it's like, wait, we just got done with a study on spiritual warfare. You know these are the devil's tricks. So the trickster is out there. He is trying to get us. And through our community, we are each other's shield.
Wow.
Welcome to the Valor Cast, where fight meets faith and fruit. This is a space for men who want more than just a weekend faith. We're here to sharpen each other, to grow stronger in God's Word, lead with integrity, and build real brotherhood. Each episode, you'll hear honest conversations with men from all walks of life. We'll talk faith, family, work, failure, legacy, whatever it takes to become the kind of men God has called us to be. Because this world needs more than passive belief, it needs men of valor. This is the podcast for building bold disciples one story at a time. This is the Valor Cast.
Well, welcome. It's hard to believe, but we are on week 10 of Got Your Back, and we welcomed you to the Valor Cast. I can't believe 10 weeks has flown by, and unbelievable as we've kind of walked through the battle. We've walked through what a detriment it is for isolation in men. We've talked about how making disciples. We've talked about forming a band of brothers and somebody to check your six. This chapter really focuses on how to sustain that band of brothers and to keep it formulating through your church. And some of the key things that Gary talks about in this chapter in Got Your Back is that it's not something that just happens. It just happens at a snap of a finger, but through time and through being intentional and being authentic and being accountable in your men's ministry, but more important, transforming into a smaller group of men that hold each other accountable and truly become that band of brothers. Been a great 10 weeks. We have a great topic today with building faith and foundations on the front line. Dean Uno is joining us along with Wade Schmidt, Pastor Roberto. So happy that you guys could come here for our 10th week. And we just thank you guys for being here and all that you guys have mean. And I know these guys we're getting to know each other very well as we're going through a session of Forged, and just thanks for being here, guys, and Pastor Roberto.
Can you briefly describe what Forged is before we go into?
Yeah, we've talked about it a little bit along the course of the way, but Forged is an opportunity for men to get together for a 10-month spiritual journey in which we take time to study a book. We've done our reports, we remember Bible verses, but more importantly, we spend time together building relationships and growing spiritually. And along the way, there's different spiritual challenges and relational challenges that take part. But at the end, it's really looking to build mentors for the next generation to multiply disciples. Everything that's in essence of this book, Forged, is building and grooming men to help make further disciples. And that's the essence of Forged. So.
That's great. And Scott was saying we get to really this 10th week of the study, and we got Dean and Wade here. What a way to close the study with these two guys here. Amazing brothers from New Hope, and I've come to know them. I mean, if you depend just on Sunday to know people, probably you would not really know people. I've really come to know them when I come to Recharge on Wednesday and sit in those tables here in the garage and talk with them and get to know their stories. I know that's beautiful. That's huge. So relationships other than Sunday are very important in the church. So Dean and Wade, thank you for being here.
Happy to be here.
We know you, but there might be people out there who don't know you. So can you tell them a little bit who you are, where you come from, a little bit, one funny thing about your life, maybe, I don't know.
A funny thing about my life. Well, I'll start off with, my name is Wade, and I grew up in Wyoming, but if you were to ask me where I'm from, lots of different places. I've lived all over the country and now here in Florida. Started in the Marine Corps. That took me to Arizona, and I love Arizona so much. Got a back.
Isn't it too hot there? I mean, you see, you love it.
It's a different kind of heat.
Okay.
But they say it's a dry heat. So it's better. I say it's the difference between frying and baking, going from dry heat to here. But
you're frying here, Florida frying.
You're baking there, you're frying here. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Boiling maybe is a better. I'll have to give that one some thought.
Okay.
But I've had sort of an interesting and colorful life. After I got out of the Marine Corps, I found myself in the club and event scene in Los Angeles, and I lived there for quite a while. Ended up going back to Wyoming to help my mom out with some things. And then probably the first time God really played a part in my life before I knew God was he got me out of there and took me to Indiana where I started my career. And it's a path I've still been on now. So I work in mining. I'm an electronics communications guy. And about a year and a half ago, God came knocking on my door and said, "Hey, you, Mr. Non-Believer, you're with me now." And I said, "Okay." And here I am amongst all you fine gentlemen.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Dean?
My name is Dean. I was actually born as an Air Force brat. My dad did 30 years in the United States Air Force. And from there, I grew up all over the place as well, similar to Wade. A lot in the United States and almost 10 years in Europe. So I actually started school in Europe in Naples, Italy. I graduated high school in Ramstein, Germany. And then I started my first 2 years of college at University of Maryland in Munich. And from there, I was raised in the church and through the Protestant denomination of the military, and all the way up through that portion of going to Munich, I kind of faded away, put religion behind me, and did all the bad things that most people do when they go to college. They fade away, don't remember their past. And then later, I ended up coming back to faith after my oldest son was born. And then when my second son was born, we were actually back here. We were actually in Houston, Texas, and I was working retail management then. And my son ended up, being born in Houston, and my dad had got sick. He was going to Emory at Chandler in Atlanta, Georgia, going to seminary school. And come to find out, he had an appointment at Moffitt, found out he had cancer. So I ended up packing my family up and moving back home to Tampa, Florida. And when I got here, I was actually being hired by the Houston Police Department back then, leaving retail, and ended up coming back home and applied to the sheriff's office. They accepted me to go on the road. And then when I moved my family back here, I ended up in detention. So I did detention for a few years. And then from there, I moseyed on to working for the Tampa Police Department. And now I'm a retired survivor of law enforcement.
Wow. What a journey for both of you. So living the Christian life, one of the ways that the Bible describes it is that we live in a battlefield. It's a different battle. It's a spiritual battle. Now, you guys have like this kind of frontline background. You in the police department, you in the Marines. And, that's a key part. You have to really have a band of brothers that really, like the book says, that really got your back. Otherwise, I don't think you guys will be sitting here.
Correct.
So what relationship do you guys see? How do you think you would apply or that frontline experience, that training in the military or in the police, to New Hope, to this final chapter, to this as we close, as we wrap up this study? What would you bring? Hey guys, this is the battle in the military and the police. This is a way it is there. I tell you, this is a way it's supposed to be in the spiritual realm as well, in the church as well. So what connection would you make with those two battles?
There is a different, in the term, in I guess in the terms of saying a brotherhood, It's ingrained in us even from boot camp. You are not black. You are not white. We are all green.
No man left behind, right?
Everyone's green. It's just a different shade of green. And I never actually served in wartime, but still, training is exactly the same as what you'd be doing if I were. And the one thing we all realize is we're all kind of in the suck together. That's what we call it. Everything sucks. Everything is hard, but we're all doing it together. And there's a lot of strength to be gained from that. And where I kind of translate that is our Christian battle, our spiritual battle. We're all in this together.
Yeah. And sometimes the Christian battle sucks as well. Or is that what you say? Is that what I heard you say?
It's hard. It's hard. And I do believe in my short time after finding faith, I have had my brush with the adversary.
Yeah.
I had myself completely convinced after 2 days after a friend of mine passed away that because I saved her life once and she found myself back in my path again, and I could have brought her to Florida. And I said, no, this was 2 years ago. But after she passed away, after she passed, I had myself convinced that God put her in my path and that I defied his plan and I defied his will. And I came to recharge that Wednesday kind of reluctantly. And I had to have someone remind me, Miss Peyton, it's like, wait, we just got done with a study on spiritual warfare. You know, these are the devil's tricks. And then after that, that made me feel a little bit better. But after that, Stu's wife, Katie, she comes up to me out of the blue. She's like, I don't know why, but I obey whenever the Holy Spirit tells me to do something, and I'm supposed to pray for you. I don't know if you've got anything going on. So the trickster is out there. He is trying to get us. And through our community,
we can overcome.
We are each other's shield.
Wow. That's powerful. Wow.
Yeah, that is.
Dean, how about you?
Well, in my case, I'll give you a couple different scenarios. In detention, which is like the corrections portion of it, most people are waiting trial, or they're already waiting to go to prison. And so most people that are there are already, considered to be the evil ones. So basically, I can tell you that not all of them are evil. There are ones that are totally evil, and it's different.
Yeah.
Same thing when you go out on the street, and Tampa was a good example. When I first started, Tampa was a very rough city, and it was really different because, when you're in a jail setting, you pretty much know that there's not really any weapons other than ones that they make inside there. And, most of them aren't going to fight the police, even though you're one. And at that time I was there, is 1 on 64 people. But every once in a while you have ones that do, they call it try you. They want to challenge you, challenge your authority because you're wearing the uniform and you're on the supposedly good side. And, they're the bad guys, and so they always challenge good versus evil. And later when I went to the road, you really don't have that protection. You just jump into a situation, and the situation, for example, domestic violence, one of the books that we read was called Beau's Cafe. And I'd never experienced domestic violence personally because my mom and dad, they loved each other. Granted, they'd have their arguments, but they never had any physical violence. I experienced it from day one. And one example was a partner of mine. We're at a domestic scene, and we're arresting the guy for beating up his wife, and the lady jumps on his back. So that's where the brotherhood really got challenged, and here we are. We're I have to protect his back, as in the book it talks about your 6 because like I said, when you're out there on the street, you can't see 360 degrees around, unless you're an owl.
Which is not the case.
Fortunately, you have to have other eyes.
So Dean, speaking to that, you've witnessed humanity at its best and worst. You've seen such human experience, tragedy. You've seen heroes. You've seen brokenness. You've seen people with extreme hope. How do you, in way too, maybe in the military, how do you guys process that spiritually?
Well, you rely on your faith. Like I said, I was raised in faith. So after I had my little stint of college and where I faded away, I came back to it. And then, you learn to rely on the Lord. He really is, like one of the sayings for the police is, we are the thin blue line, which is the line between good and evil.
Wow. Okay. I never knew that.
That was pretty powerful. And so that's why every year we celebrate up in Washington, D.C., the National Police Memorial for the fallen officers. And unfortunately, it happens every day. And unfortunately, the news doesn't publish that. So when you go up there, next thing you know, there's like 300, 400, 500 officers that are killed in a year. And unfortunately, most people don't know that.
Yeah.
But again, back to the question, you rely on your faith, prayer really is a powerful tool, because you always ask for God's protection and guidance, because as in I could tell you some cases where, it was life or death, and granted, knock on wood, I didn't have to kill anybody, but I've hurt some people pretty bad. Unfortunately, it's protecting ourselves, protecting my brothers and sisters that are there on the front line with me. But it's just part of the job.
I think depending on God, when you are like in the front lines, I think you got to depend on God more, because you don't know where you're going to find that day.
Exactly.
So you got a call to go into the domestic violence scenario, like you were saying, and you don't know what you're walking into. You don't know.
No.
So really prayer and depending on God is really something huge when you leave your faith in the front lines, right?
I can't even imagine what it's like going into something like that, Dean. I mean, not knowing, you have no idea what you're stepping into.
Yeah.
Know what's
We always hope for the best.
Call, right? You don't know.
Yeah, I've never had to experience anything quite like that.
Yeah. Well, you hope for the best, but ultimately the outcome is that you apprehend the bad guy, which is what usually happens if they don't.
First you have to sort out who the bad guy actually
that's
is.
True too.
Yeah.
So there's but it's not too difficult to figure things out, especially if I did almost 25 years of working on the streets of Tampa. So you a lot of it's routine, and then you kind of have a game plan of what you're going to do.
In the military, it's a little bit more simple. If they're shooting at you, that's the bad guy.
Yeah, you get to shoot back. Fortunately, the way the laws are written for the police, our hands are tied. You can't just shoot, like suppression fire in policing. There is no such thing as suppression fire.
Right.
You just have to endure what's coming at you and then go from there.
Yeah, when I served, we were always concerned with rules of engagement versus, I don't know how that works in the police department, but you probably have something similar like that.
Well, we have procedures that we have to follow. So if you don't follow them, then you find yourself in a world of trouble, which usually ends up being fired, or you yourself could be incarcerated for breaking the law. But
yeah, and not only the rules of engagements and the procedures and all that. Sometimes there's something even probably worse. Is politics. So how politics sometimes affect our brotherhood. When politics takes the stage, brotherhood leaves the stage probably. Is that a fair assumption in the battlefield? How does that play out in the front lines, in law enforcement, the military, as well as in this church, as well as in discipleship? How do you think that plays out? Politics.
Well, politics plays a role in everybody's life. Like for me, with the brotherhood, when I first started policing, the brotherhood was very strong. You took care of your fellow officer. And then later on, you have supervisors and higher ups that tell you, well, that's not acceptable anymore. This is the new policy, and this is the way we're going to do things. And so you have to kind of
tie your hands.
Your hands are tied in what you're doing. So you try to make the best of it. Like I'd tell people, ultimately the bottom line is we will survive. That's the bottom line of this, and again, having been in some pretty bad situations that involve death, fortunately, luckily, I guess I should say it wasn't at my hand, but, ultimately death saw a lot of death, because unfortunately people are very non-caring. It's very discouraging to see how much the devil plays a role in people's lives.
Yeah.
And they have no sympathy. They're just pure evil. You can look in their eyes and you can see right through them. All you see is evil.
Yeah.
But the politics does play a big role because, again, your hands are tied and you can't do certain things that we used to do. And now you have to follow these new rules.
Yeah.
So my experience there is ranks E1 through E3 in the Marine Corps is private first class, and lance corporal. Your next two ranks, corporal and sergeant, those are your NCO ranks, they call that, non-commissioned officer. There is nothing more dangerous than a brand new E4 corporal. It's like your first taste of power. And I've seen so many brand new corporals abuse that, and whether or not they're trying to make a name for themselves or impress somebody else, because once you get past those ranks, you go into your staff NCO ranks, and that becomes very political. You see people get promoted quite often that, are playing a game with the brass for promotion and everything else. And it's really easy to tell the difference between a Marine who just wants to be a good Marine versus someone who is looking to get themselves promoted. It's an entirely different state of mind. I didn't stay in for any longer than one enlistment, but I tried to be a good Marine and just let everything else roll off. I was very fortunate. I had some really good staff NCOs, some good officers on top of me. Some scary ones too. But had more than my fair share of run-ins with especially brand new corporals are very dangerous. They think they know the game they think they know the political game, but they have no idea what they're doing.
The same thing happens in policing. You have people that get promoted, and now all of a sudden they have a brand new star on their shirt, and now they have something to prove. And then it honestly goes up through the ranking. It's higher up you get. It's like they forget where they were. So
interesting. Shifting gears a little bit, let's talk a little bit about balance. You guys have very busy schedules. I mean, when you're in the Marines, but I know your current, being in mining is a very demanding job. When you were in the military, when you faced, challenges, and I'm talking about like looking at how did you maintain your spiritual life during those hours of shift work and unpredictable hours? How were you able to manage being spiritual too?
Utterances. I fill my day with utterances. Every time I'm really working at trying to make this automatic. And I'm not there yet, but I believe one day it will. Whenever anything good happens, I just finished driving to work. Thank you, God, for a safe drive. It's almost under my breath, but just being in a state of constant praise, I feel is helping me stay more connected to my Creator.
That's huge. Wow.
With us, it was, like I stated earlier, prayer was a big thing. I started, granted, when I was, my whole career, I wasn't really super active in the church. I went through the cycles of being active, kind of fade away back and forth from some of the stuff that we saw. But prayer was very powerful for me. The band of brothers that I did have, not all of them are religious in the police department. Some are very unreligious. But most of them do have the hope of that God will protect you. Because if not, then again, like I said, majority of the time we dealt with pure evil. And so you can get sucked in pretty quickly. And some people defend what they did, and other people know that that's wrong. So you couldn't really defend it, but you did what you had to do.
Yeah, talking about unreligious people, sometimes we tend to think about evil can have many faces. And sometimes we probably don't pay much attention to one of those evil faces called atheist people, unbelievers, unreligious people who say that there's no God, that there's no. So how do you deal with those people around you that they say don't believe in God? And how does it feel when you know that you were one of those and now you are more aware of the spiritual realm and you're in Christ now? So what is the journey like from being one of those unreligious guys, atheist guys, and still have to hang out with some of those even in your jobs today?
My conversion experience, I mean, I didn't slowly discover faith. It landed right on top of me.
Oh, really?
I had what I would describe as a transcendent experience that I really didn't ask for, but it came to me anyways. I think that the word atheist, I'm really careful with that because in the Christian community, it seems like there's a connotation of almost like militancy in atheists. It's almost like an atheist and a non-believer are somehow different. Like someone who doesn't believe just doesn't know. An atheist is like rah, rah, rah. And to some extent, that's true, but not really. During my time while I was an atheist, I discovered that word probably somewhere in my 20s, and it described my worldview since I was a teenager. And that all just changed, just recently. But I described my spiritual thinking as the glorious lack of time that worrying about imaginary friends takes out of my day. That's how I would describe my spiritual life.
Yeah.
But I have seen where the Christian community has kind of a skewed view of what an atheist actually is or how they think. While there are your Dawkins types out there with the new atheism, most non-believers are not like that. I've heard many times here at our church, atheists pray at the altar of science. That is not true. We pray at the altar of self. Pray at the altar of, because my life up to a point had taught me nothing more than I can only rely on myself. So I got very good at that.
Sound familiar as we walk through this book.
Yeah.
The battle that we faced is one, isolation, and that's a tactic from Satan. If we're being real, it is.
Wow.
And I believe.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, you're good. I mean, and you're not, and you're right. Looking back now, because hindsight is always 20/20. I can see, because I can look back and see, yep, God showed up in my life there. God showed up in my life there. Didn't recognize it. Didn't see it. I think that we could probably get the ear of non-believers a little bit more if we could show them the practical side of Christianity.
Now, can you say that again, please? Can you say that again?
I think that we could get the ears of non-believers a lot more if we could show them the practicality of Christianity.
That is so powerful.
Because I never thought of, my thought in my mind of what a Christian was a Bible clutched in one hand, a ruler in the other, the perfect Catholic school, ready to smack and smite. And after I found New Hope, I realized, wow, I've had this all wrong. Because some of y'all are way more broken than I was.
Yeah, I mean, right. Yeah, I think the book talked about the church as an organism instead of an organization,
right?
And being a part of a body and be a part of something where it's not hierarchy, but it's relational. And yeah, I mean that's a very sharing that way is truly enlightening, I think, for many.
And to me, the beauty of this kind of environment here, a podcast kind of conversation, which I normally say podcast is just a fancy word for a conversation
right
in front of a microphone and maybe a camera. So is that sometimes in church settings, we get so bombarded with the ideal with how we should be, that sometimes this kind of environment helps us really land in the real rather than the ideal. So if you just tell me the ideal and you don't tell me the real and how to go from 1 to 2, from A to B, you're not helping me. And I think that's what you're saying is that show me a practical faith, and then show me a faith. Show me how has it worked for you. Show me how discipleship makes you is a unique way of being what you are intended to be, what you are created to be. Show me the practical ways of that. So I think we fail to have the real conversation in the altar, having the ideal conversation, and that we end up just having an ideal faith.
Well, there's a perspective to be talked about there, because I mean, most people I know that I've met after coming to faith grew up in the church. They've had faith, at some level in their life, their entire life. I seem to be kind of an oddball here because I was an atheist all my life, and now, I'm churchier than most, I guess. But I now can see the practical side of faith. I've seen the positive impacts it's had in my life, the purpose that it's given me. And that's something that non-believers might not want to admit, but it's leading a life of fruitlessness without purpose. Because what are you really working toward? Believing that, when we die, we just die and that's it. I can't believe that I thought that way for 40 years.
Like, doesn't make sense like that, right?
It doesn't make sense. And after coming to faith and actually seeing the fruits of our labors, so to speak, as faithful Christians, it's very powerful. And I'm working personally on how do I put that message to the people that I know who are not not believers. It's a slow process, but I'm trying to put something together.
Yeah, that's good. And Dean, I would say sometimes when we're in church, Scott, you got that kind of bubble, right? You live in a bubble. When everything is your brotherhood, your band of brothers and all that. But you used to get in your uniform, get in your car, and go out there outside the bubble and see the real world of brokenness, of evil there. Sometimes as Christians, we spend too much time in the bubble. Is that a fair assumption?
That's a fair assumption because that's our safety zone. So we're going to stay in this little bubble area where we feel safe. Well, in policing business, you're in, like you said, you start in your car where you feel safe. Next thing you know, you get a call and you go to the unexpected unknown. And all of a sudden you have to leave your safety bubble, your area that you feel best, to the realm of the unknown. You just hope that your training and your brothers and sisters are going to be there to help you. And ultimately, like I said earlier, it's all about survival. Your goal is to go back home where the other side doesn't want you to go home.
In that walk, though, Dean Wade, how did you strengthen or share your faith with people that you maybe were going into these unquestionable or scary moments, so to say? How did you?
Well, a lot of it you rely on God for his protection, and then you rely on your family and your family at work as well. But those are probably the big keys. As I was raised, my dad would say that God's first, then your family, and then your friends. And to reflect a little bit on his comment about being totally about yourself, yourself had nothing to do with my dad's motto of life. So, because he was raised in the Christian realm as well. But
what was his motto on life?
God was first, then your family, and then your friends.
God,
family, friends.
That's good. The idea of really walking outside the bubble is something that mainly because you have secular jobs. When you're a pastor, sometimes you tend to the distance between the deal and the real, the reality out there, and how bad the reality is sometimes. It's more distance.
I really
When you
wonder
look at
about
this.
that sometimes with
Oh,
the
yeah.
pastoral staff or just
Yeah.
the staff here at the church anyways, because it's like your faith is your job as well.
Yeah.
I mean, in a sense. How do you, it just fascinates me. How do you reconcile, your own relationship with the shepherding that you're trying to do? Does that line ever get blurry?
It does. It does, because sometimes you tend to realize that one time at some point you do the math and you realize that all your relationships are Christian, and you realize that there's nothing more wrong than that. It's how come you're going to reach out? How can you're going to extend it? You spend your faith. You're going to expand the kingdom if the people you hung out with entirely are Christians. So yes, that's a danger.
But you could also be looking at your role as, yes, we are called to be evangelical, but there's also an important role I think you're filling with keeping the kingdom intact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, keeping the kingdom intact, but at the same time, it depends on what you think the kingdom is. When the kingdom is what you call the perfect, safe environment of Sunday morning, where everything is safe, where everything is nice, where you sing, where you worship, where you have fellowship and all that, if that is the kingdom, and then, yeah, it makes sense. You will end up living in that bubble. But then when you really have a more extensive concept of the kingdom, you realize the kingdom is way beyond that. That God is at work outside your bubble. And sometimes God is saying, come here, join me out here in the community. Join me out here in the law enforcement. Join me out here in the secular world. Join me out here. So that is the tension that we live in ministry.
It's tough,
going
though.
out. Yeah, it's tough.
Because there's so much joy inside the bubble.
Oh, yes, it is. Comfort. Comfort. It's comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the tension that we live for programs like, as Scott said, like Forge is like multiplication.
Mm-hmm.
Like say, you get to form a band of brothers. Don't get too comfortable in it. Because you know what it is about? It's about multiplication. How can you use what we have learned here in this book within these 10 chapters? And how can we take it outside the bubble to the people who are out there? That is the kingdom as well. There is kingdom outside the church. There is kingdom outside of ministry. There is kingdom outside here. It happens in the front lines. It happens in the Marines. It happens in the law enforcement. It happens when reality is hard, not when reality is just a comfy place. Am I making sense?
Oh,
No,
100%.
it makes 100% sense. And I think the book really kind of talks about that and dialing it down where in the military, and I wasn't in the military, I wasn't in the police, but I played sports, and I would equate maybe football being part of a team. When you're on a team, you've got to work together to accomplish. Somebody's got to block for you, the quarterback or your receiver, you got to block for whatever. It can't be accomplished here as a team. But my question, like I've been thinking of here is each one of those situations was an organized group that almost was top down telling me how I had to have this guy's back, right? Where, if I'm in the military, I might be in a foxhole is kind of assigned to me or if I have a partner, but in the Christian battle, when you walk out in isolation, I don't know necessarily that works if you could take a hierarchy approach and just forge people together, like you and you're going to be partners. And that's what the book talks about. How do we make that successful, I guess, is the question, to build these small groups of men like Jesus did.
Ephesians 4, by the way, I talk too much. I know that. Ephesians 4, but before we move on, talks about sometimes people tend to see the verticality. Read Ephesians 4, apostles, evangelists, preachers, pastors, and they tend to see in the vertical way that you're saying in the military or in the sports team, you do this, you do that.
Right.
And I think that's, if you read that particular scripture like that, you're missing the point. Ephesians 4:11 is a horizontal, I would say, production line. The production line of ministry is to form disciples, is to make followers, make disciples of Christ. So to me, you have to flip the line. Instead of being just a vertical, line. It needs to be a horizontal life in which a band of brothers work hand to hand. There's no superiority. It's just the work hand to hand. That's the kingdom. To me, I see the kingdom more a horizontal process in which a band of brothers are joined forces to make lives better, to make people achieve their God-given purpose. So anyway, I talked too much.
No, that's great. Great.
I mean,
That's where you do find, on that horizontal level, that's where you do find your brotherhood, because you have common goals, you have common ideology, and basically you're all on the same level. There's nobody that's higher or lower. You're all equal.
So where the trick is, because the book talks about, coming together to form those sorts of groups needs to also be organic as well as intentional. It's like those two words aren't all that compatible, right?
That's a great point. That's a great point.
But it's easy. Like for you in the police department, me when I was in the Marine Corps, some of my best friends today, I met back then. Of course, they live, out in the ether, but we still talk a lot. But that's a situation where I had, and same with you had, it's like you either form that bond or else. And the problems that we humans have is thinking that we have time on our side, because our or else, our or else is our eternity. So how do you place enough emphasis on that to make it, what's the word I'm looking for here? Help me out, guys. To make that
Matter.
Imminent.
Matter. Imminent. Okay.
Yeah.
Urgent.
Permanent.
Yeah.
Urgent.
Sense
Yes,
of
there you
urgency.
go. Because I don't think we have enough sense of urgency toward our eternity, because we commit the sin of thinking we have time.
The sin of complacency.
True.
Wow. That's good.
And stuff.
Yeah. and when you live in Frontlines, you see how fragile life is. You see how life can go like
Snap of a finger.
Yeah.
it's gone. And you thought you had time. So that's good.
So how's retirement? What have you been doing with your time with
Retirement's
retirement,
great.
Dean?
Well, believe it or not, people tell you, retirement, you're going to be able to kick back, go on vacation, enjoy life. I'd have to disagree highly. Busier now more than ever.
Okay.
Dean is my hero. He actually came over and trimmed my hedges the other day.
He's a good dude. He is for
Good
sure.
guy. Best guy.
So I'm going to question, retired in military and even busy works, what kind of advice would you give to first responders, military, that police officers that are struggling with their faith?
Well, I recommend that they find somebody that they can trust and they can speak to, because having been a police officer and seen many people that have gone down the road of suicide or,
Wow.
they drink heavily. Some have gone to narcotics and drug abuse. And, because we see so many bad things that people don't tell them, you really did help. I can give an example I did DUI enforcement for over 10 years. And I actually was at dinner and a lady came up to me. She says, "Can I talk to you?" And I said, "Sure." And she goes, "You don't remember me?" I said, "No, ma'am." She goes, "You saved my life. You made me turn my life completely around."
Wow.
Having been arrested for DUI. And you spoke to me like I was a person. And now I have a family. And, you spoke, I didn't speak of religion very much, but I told her, you need to find faith, because you're going down a rabbit hole that's going to get you in a world of hurt. And she actually did
Turn her life around.
turn herself
That's
around.
powerful. Wow.
And she introduced me to her family, and it was pretty powerful.
I'm sure that was not the only life that you
awesome.
touched, but if it
Oh,
was,
there's
it
several.
makes it all worth it. Right? Does it?
It does, because actually there's one of my last days when I had retired, I was invited to go to Davis Island for a ceremony. A gentleman that I had actually personally known, he was one of our fishing buddies. One of the lawyers had this big fishing tournament, and this was one of the guys that helped out. And his son in a domestic rage of being, can't tell you what drug he was on, but he was on some sort of drug. He stabbed his dad right in the chest with a kitchen knife.
Oh boy.
He ended up, when we got there, he had stabbed his mom 16 times in the back. And when I got there, the kitchen knife was now actually in the dad's neck. And so I had a close relationship with many guys from Tampa Fire and told them, hey, you need to get here now and you need to get him out of here. And the good part about that was we were able to save the mom's life. She and I are actually, we don't get together like we probably should, but we message each other on Facebook.
That's beautiful.
But yeah, that was a pretty powerful day because I told my wife that I wasn't going because I was done with policing.
Sure.
And
can't only imagine. I can't even imagine.
She was actually very happy that we did go because she got to meet the lady whose life was saved.
Wow.
I've got no story like that, guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, that happened a lot during my career. But you don't get rewarded like a lot of these guys. Oh, I got a life-saving pin, for saving somebody's life. It's just part of the job, things that we did.
I'm sure you get rewarded then.
Oh, we've been rewarded many times, believe me.
Yeah, I'm sure you get rewarded. And to me, just sit and watch that unfold in front of your eyes and see the then and now. That's the best reward.
Yeah, unbelievable.
You can see how God used you even before you even know it. God was using you. Dude, that's rewarding right there.
How can speaking of that, how can faith communities better support first responders or police, military? What advice would you give for that? Or early on, Wade, what would you think would have been nice for a faith community in the time when you were in the military?
Honestly, I mean, faith is a pretty big deal in the military. I was the outlier. I always went to church during boot camp. It was the only time you could get away from the drill instructors. But but no, thankfully, I mean, God is one of the core tenets of the military. I somehow slipped through that, but maybe I was getting by on the faith of my brothers. And I totally can see how that is probably the case. Definitely. But I think we do a decent job of letting the military, police know that we are here.
But I think we need to do a better job, though, because there was actually a group back in the day that did invite police to come and first responders and, firemen, military. It was like this big organization that wanted to help police because they knew that they were going through dark times.
Well, definitely can do a better job with that. And I hope this podcast really raises awareness of how we need to pray, how we need to support people in the front lines. Yes. And also the application of really the legal, visible battle out there with this spiritual battle that we all fight inside and that we are not alone, that we need to have each other's back. So I think it's been a great journey, Scott, isn't it?
It's been an amazing journey.
We talked to so many wonderful people, heard so many wonderful testimonies. You guys are the last ones that we do in this series for this book. But we have had so many wonderful conversations here in those couches and it's been mind-blowing. It's been beautiful.
Yeah. I can't thank you guys enough for taking
I'm
the
really
time.
grateful to have been part of this.
Thank you guys
for the opportunity to be part.
Thank you.
Well, it's been an amazing 10 weeks. The Valor Cast will be closing this session as Pastor Roberto, but stay tuned. The Valor Cast will return soon. In the meantime, look for the New Hope Ministry to Men. We have other opportunities upcoming. Our next opportunity is a breakfast on November 15th to join in food, fun, and fellowship with your brotherhood. Again, thank you, Pastor Roberto. Dean Wade, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you very soon on the Valor Cast.
Right. See you.
Thanks for listening to the Valor Cast, where fight meets faith and fruit. If this conversation challenged or encouraged you, share it with a brother. You may subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And to find more resources for men of faith, visit findnewhope.com/men.